strong winds. The weather today, though, is cooperating, and we are on track for an on-time liftoff this evening. Our launch operations team here at the pad and our launch control center at Wallops have powered through preparations for today's flight. The range is ready, the rocket is ready, and Hawkeye's 360 satellites on board Electron are healthy and waiting for their ride to space.
So, okay, guys, the reason why I wanted to cover this, I mean, we're a little ways out. We're T-minus 40 minutes. The reason why I wanted to cover this is because this is a RocketLab Electron launch. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm a pretty big RocketLab fan. Don't get me wrong. I'm a pretty big Rocket fan. I really don't care who it is. And that's not to undermine RocketLab or anything. I really like the Electron rocket. I think it's a great idea, and I'm really, really hype on Neutron, their next-gen rocket. They'll probably talk about it here in a second, but this is actually a pretty high-profile launch from them. This is the first time that RocketLab is launching from North America. They've never launched from here before, despite, I think, at least 30 Electron launches. Now, why? Well, they usually launch down in New Zealand from the Mahia Peninsula. That's where their 2 launch pads are. They're all the way down here. See this little guy coming off the coast of the North Island of New Zealand? Their pads are right there. That's where they've done all of their rocket launches from. But they've recently expanded, and they are now have another pad, and this is the first launch from said pad over here. So we're on the coast of Virginia right here. So Virginia, Maryland, it's Delmarva basically. If you're from the area, you know what that means. So Electron is launching from its pad right next to Antares' pad. Now this is an old picture. The launch pad is right here. It's on that dirt patch right there, that gray gravel patch. It's right there. This is the first time RocketLab is launching from North America, and their first launch at the U.S., and their first launch from Wallops. This is a pretty big deal, which is actually, it's a pretty awesome mission here. There it is, poised on the pad here. Yeah, I really wanted to cover this because this is the first launch from the U.S., which is pretty sweet. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go outside and I'm going to see if there's cloud. I'm going to see if there's clouds outside, because this is close enough to me that I might actually be able to see it. So
is for Launch Lovers mission patch on your screen there.
So I'm going to key in their audio, guys. I will be back in a moment.
Just a few miles away from the launch pad is RocketLab's Integration and Control Facility, a building we call the ICF. It's here that our mission team, Hawkeye 360 engineers, and range partners NASA and Mars, or the Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport, are monitoring launch pad, launch vehicle, and launch range readiness in the lead up to liftoff. Their next check-in is the T-minus 35-minute status poll, where our launch director, Michael Pearson, will get a weather update and speak with each operator to make sure the schedule is holding for our 6 p.m. Eastern Time launch. We're going to tune into the audio channels now and listen in for the latest.
All stations LD on countdown, proceeding with the status poll for launch sequence. Stand by for the poll for current and expected status for launch. Please report green or red, tracking green or red for launch. Stage.
Stage is green, tracking green.
Avionics.
Avionics is green, tracking green.
GNC.
GNC is green, tracking green.
VCon.
VCon is green, tracking green.
T1.
T1 is green, tracking green.
GC.
GC is green, tracking green.
PLS.
PLS is green, tracking green.
Mars CE.
Mars CE is green, tracking green.
Mars Ops.
Mars Ops is green, tracking green.
MM.
MM is green, tracking green.
NASA LWO.
LWO is green, tracking green.
NASA GSO.
GSO is green, tracking green.
NASA PM.
NASA PM is green, tracking green.
NASA RSO. NASA TD. NASA RSO LD countdown.
Yeah, NASA RSO is red, tracking green. We will be red until the boat exits our hazard area, but we are expecting it to exit.
Copy, I'll call you on SUP1 shortly. NASA TD. TD LD countdown.
Did I hear that right? A boat?
NASA TD is green, or red, tracking green.
Copy, same reason as RSO.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And NASA LWO, can you please provide a brief weather brief for T0?
Copy LD, this is LWO on countdown, the T-minus 30-minute weather briefing. Continue with those upper level winds, going to stay about where they are now throughout the countdown into the launch window. Looking at our latest balloons compared to the model, you can see here the latest balloon, the partial was the green, very similar to the forecasted model output for T-minus 0, and direction very similar as well.
There we go. That was a mostly positive update from the RocketLab ICF, with most operators with green, tracking green, apart from that boat in the hazard zone. But we are tracking green for them to clear that, which means we will be moving forward with tonight's launch attempt as the clock continues counting down. We are now at T-minus 31 minutes to lift off from Launch Complex 2 for Virginia is for launch lovers. If you're watching from the Pacific Coast, then launch is set for 6 p.m. Eastern Time this evening, and adjust your time zone to that. If you're tuning in internationally, then you can convert launch timing to your local time zone from 2300 Coordinated Universal Time, or UTC.
As we make our way through the countdown, let me take you through a rundown of our Electron launch vehicle next. Electron is a 3-stage launch vehicle that stands 18 meters or 59 feet tall. The black and white stripes you can see here are a visual effect caused by the rocket's liquid oxygen propellant. Frost forms on the outside of the rocket.
The ringing is them, guys. It's not me.
Temperature of the liquid oxygen inside the rocket's fuel storage tank.
Discovery, go at
Black comes from Electron's fully carbon composite tank structure, using material that is lightweight yet strong enough to withstand the pressure of launch. Powering the rocket are 9 Rutherford engines on the first stage and a single Rutherford engine on the second stage. These engines are 3D printed and named after the famous physicist Ernest Rutherford. They were the first engines of their kind to reach space, given that before the Rutherford, no other 3D printed electric pump-fed engines had ever crossed the Kármán line to space successfully. The engines use batteries to power the electric motor behind the Rutherford's rotodynamic pump and have the same general structure across the first stage and second stage, apart from a larger expansion nozzle for the second stage engine to better operate in the vacuum of space. We have a unique 11th engine on Electron also, called the Curie engine, after chemist and physicist Marie Curie.
Shutzy, you gotta wish him luck. I mean, it'd be rude not to.
Within Electron's third stage at the top of the rocket. This third stage is an orbital transfer vehicle we call the kick stage, which carries the mission's payloads to their exact destination on orbit. The kick stage will carry today's 3 Hawkeye satellites to a 550-kilometer circular orbit after Electron lifts off from the pad at Launch Complex 2 on a southeastern trajectory. From liftoff to orbit, the entire mission tonight should be completed within an hour.
We really are so excited to finally be launching Electron from Launch Complex 2, the first of many exciting missions coming to Virginia. This summer, we'll be launching 4 satellites on 2 back-to-back missions from LC2 for NASA for their Tropics mission, a program to monitor tropical cyclones and hurricanes that will help scientists better understand them and ultimately help save lives with earlier and more accurate storm warnings and predictions. To be ready in time for this year's Atlantic hurricane season, each pair of these satellites on these 2 missions need to be placed on orbit one after another and within just 60 days. Luckily, we know how to move fast, and alongside Virginia Space, we built Launch Complex 2 in just 11 months as an indication of that speed we can move at. For the majority of last year, we launched Electron every month, and our fastest launch turnaround in 2022 was just 15 days. Electron is well suited for rapid launch, and it's a capability we are excited to bring to Wallops for future missions, not just for NASA, but for any government defense or commercial small satellite mission that wants a streamlined ride to space.
So, all right, fellas. I saw a couple of questions in chats of Shadow Man. This rocket hauls, what makes it so fast? So, this is one of the only rockets flying, if not the only rocket to my knowledge, that has electronic fuel injection. Meaning that the fuel delivery mechanism for Electron is, instead of a jet engine or a gas generator with a turbine being attached to a fluid impeller to move the fuel fast enough, this has an electric motor. No gas generator. No gas generator required. It's just an electric motor spinning a fluid impeller. It's literally electronically fuel injected. The 9 Rutherford engines in the first stage have huge well, I say huge. They're about this big. They have brushless motors. They're inside of here, and that's what delivers the fuel. The electric motor basically means that you don't need to wait a second for the engine to spool up. It'll just maximum RPM right there off the bat. It's just like a car, electric car versus a regular car, right? In a regular car, you step on the gas, it takes a second to get going. The electric engines are instant max RPM. So because of that, the engines go on and this thing just right off the pad. It goes pretty fast. The reason why it goes pretty fast, the other reason, is that Electron has a very low mass fraction. So what does that mean? That means when the rocket is poised on the pad with the payload first stage, second stage fairing, because it's made out of carbon fiber, more of the mass of the rocket is fuel. Like 99.5% of Electron's mass is fuel, and the rest of it is rocket. And if you want a really plain English way of determining how far a rocket can go into space, well, if you have more fuel on your rocket and less rocket on your rocket, you can go further. In this particular case, it makes the rocket really, really light because it has a very, very low, very low mass fraction. So yeah, it goes quick. Something like that, Tessa. More fuel, less rocket. That's a plain English way, Oxar, of saying how that is a plain English way of saying the math governing behind determining a rocket's range. So like how far can a rocket go? Rocket ranges aren't necessarily measured in distance because of how gravity works. They're measured in acceleration. It's measured in velocity. How fast can you accelerate to? The faster your rocket can go, the further you can go in the solar system, or further you can go into space. Right? And part of that is a logarithmic function of the relationship of dry mass to wet mass. Meaning, how much does the rocket weigh without fuel and how much does the rocket weigh with fuel? That logarithmic ratio will help determine how far your rocket can go, per what's called the delta V equation, or your change in velocity, right? I'll be able to see it after 120 seconds. I'll go out and look. So, yeah, the plain English way of saying that is that the more fuel you have on your rocket and the less rocket you have on your rocket, the further your rocket goes.
Watching the launch from inside the control room at our integration and control facility will be our range partners in Virginia,
I don't have a
NASA
RocketLab
and Virginia
hat like
Space,
those.
who own and operate the Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport where LC-2 is located. The efforts behind our historic first Electron launch from Virginia will bring in a new beginning
Why do
for
the
commercial
Great
space
Lakes look
activity
so
at Wallops.
weird?
Here's more from the partnership's leaders.
This represents a historic moment in our history, in the long and storied history of Wallops, with over 16,000 rocket launches. The Starling launch today represents a new era of resilient and responsive access to space.
I'm not reading off of a cue card.
That kind of capability, to offer that to our nation, to offer it to the commercial sector, to be able to put satellites into orbit. It's an exciting opportunity for not only the commercial aspect, but also for the nation.
See, not
bringing together NASA's engineering with our autonomous flight termination system, enabling and supporting RocketLab and the Electron launch vehicle, along with our partners in Virginia with the Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport.
Did you fast forward? No, I haven't fast forward. Prepare to fast forward. Preparing to fast forward. Fast forwarding, sir. Fast forwarding. When is this? Now. You're looking at now, chat. Everything that's happening now is happening now. Then? Well, you missed it. Just now. You're at now.
Most thrilled that we were actually able to build LC-2 pad. We built it from groundbreaking to full operational.
You missed Jesse, Lewis? The wrong company. Jesse is SpaceX. This is RocketLab. Those are two different companies.
So working here at Wallops with NASA team and Virginia Space team, I feel like it's a unified team. Whether you're wearing a blue shirt or a black shirt or whatever color and whatever lapel pin, we're one unified team.
T-minus 21 minutes and counting on the clock for this Virginia is for Launch Lovers mission. Now, it has been a long time coming to launch Electron from LC-2. As we heard from Virginia Space in that clip, alongside technicians from Mars, we built the pad and its infrastructure in just 11 months back in 2020. But beyond the site build has been the monumental effort to usher in a brand new system for the spaceport for this and all future launches, an autonomous flight termination system, or AFTS. Now, AFTS is a computer-controlled way of making safety decisions for a rocket once it has lifted off the pad. A small box on the rocket is run by software that follows a set of safety rules. If those rules are violated while the rocket is in flight, then the AFTS will quickly end the mission. We designed and built an AFTS system for Electron and have been running it successfully on missions from our launch site in New Zealand for more than 20 missions. On NASA's range at Wallops, though, flight termination has been a traditional human-in-the-loop system. Until today, that is. After more than 20 years of software and algorithm development, NASA and the Department of Defense will today debut their AFTS for an orbital mission at Wallops for the first time. It's a crucial system that will become open to all range users to help bring down range costs, increase launch responsiveness, widen boundary limits for launches, and support multiple launch vehicles from the range. We are thrilled the AFTS can now be in use not just at Wallops, but across all NASA ranges, and proud to have partnered with NASA and the DoD to debut AFTS with Electron for tonight's mission.
At one point, Bandit, yeah.
To give you a bit of an overview of the mission, in the next 15 minutes or so, Electron will ignite its 9 Rutherford engines and lift off that pad at T0.
Inside of 20
once we have cleared the pad, it will be a relatively quick ride to space today for Hawkeye 360 satellites. from ground to on orbit in space in under 60 minutes, in fact. Within 1 minute, the rocket will exceed the speed of sound at Mach 1 to become supersonic, traveling at speeds of more than 768 miles per hour or 1,236 kilometers per hour. Around 11 seconds after breaking the sound barrier, Electron will reach max Q. Now, as the rocket travels, it experiences three forces: gravity downward, thrust upward, and then atmospheric drag. Now, the apex of all three is the max Q pressure point, or what we call when the rocket experiences maximum dynamic pressure. When our operators call that Electron has cleared max Q, they're saying that the rocket has come through the most amount of mechanical pressure it will experience on the mission.
Another plain English way of saying that, guys, is that while the rocket's ascending, part of its ascent is still flying through the atmosphere. The air that it's flying through gets compressed up against the nose cone, and it can't move the air out of the way fast enough. So that air getting compressed actually squishes the rocket a little bit, and you can only squish the rocket so much before it'll pop like a balloon, honestly. So max Q is basically when the rocket can't move the air out of the way fast enough, and it starts to induce a compression load. So it basically starts to squish the thing. I don't think I need to say why you don't want to squish a fuel tank. But yeah, if that meant nothing when the communications person was talking about maximum dynamic pressure, yeah, that's what that means.
It almost drains the batteries that are powering its Rutherford engine. It won't have reached the mission's orbital altitude yet, so to keep going, the second stage switches to a fresh set of engine batteries. This is an action unique to Electron because it was the world's first rocket to use electric pump-fed engines to get to orbit. Battery hot swap, as we call it, will happen around T plus 6 minutes and 45 seconds into the mission. After that, we'll have our second set of engine cutoffs and stage separations. If you did your engineering right, hitting max Q won't blow the rocket up. This time between the second stage and the third stage at around 9 minutes into launch. Following these actions, it's a bit of a wait to complete the mission, while the third stage, carrying the satellites, completes its first pass of Earth.
Trying to do a professional cast over here, man. Damn.
Orbit, the engine on the third stage lights up to move the stage and the satellites into a circular orbit. From there, the payloads can be safely deployed into their circular orbit, and once that happens, it's mission success for RocketLab and the start of operations in space for Hawkeye 360.
Thanks, Jane. We have now only 16 minutes and counting until the launch of Virginia is for Launch Lovers. The Hawkeye 360 team are ready and waiting as our launch team makes their way through the count. The final gate to pass will be the go/no-go poll to check in on everyone's status and readiness for launch. That's coming up at the T-minus 12-minute point, and we'll bring up the audio channels and camera feeds into our control rooms while we listen.
We'll hear about that in a second, Black
While
Horse.
we wait for that clock to run down, Jane and I will take you through each of our operators as you see them on screen and where they are on console for today's mission. We'll start with RocketLab's Integration and Control Facility located here at Wallops. Along the front row, closest to the screens, we have NASA, Mars, and our launch regulator, the Federal Aviation Administration. They'll be providing ground safety, range safety, system safety, and weather monitoring for the launch. At the end of the row is our ICE operator managing instrumentation and control engineering. Behind them, in the middle row, is Majority RocketLab with 2 Mars operators in the mix. On one end are our avionics...
Mars is Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport, not the planet, just in case anybody's wondering.
Ground control engineers responsible for the systems at the pad that support launch, like power generation and communications. Our operator managing the propellant loading system for Electron sits
maybe
in
not
the middle.
that one. Oh.
In the back row is mission management, our IT support engineer, our vehicle control specialist called VCON, and the engineer called Stage, who has eyes on the health of the rocket's engines and who watches over Electron's propellant tanks pressures, fuel usage, engine ignition, and firing. Next to her is our launch director for the mission, Michael Pearson, who leads all of the operators for this mission and who has overall responsibility for the safety and the success of the launch. Next to him is his direct support for the launch director role, And finally, we have VP of Launch.
All right, guys. Well, pre-roll ads. Where are we at? 14? Hold on, let me check the timer. 14:30. Yeah. Okay. So, fellas, what I'm gonna do while they're just explaining what everything does, I can do that if you guys have questions about it. So, I'm gonna run an ad here so people don't see pre-rolls and nobody gets an ad roll during the launch. I don't think I need to say why that would be really annoying. For what it's worth, I hate ads. I can't stand them. But I do this so people click on the thumbnail, they see a rocket launch. They don't want to see a freaking deodorant commercial, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna hit the ad run button so nobody gets a pre-roll during the actual launch. So we're gonna hit that ad button right now. What if I smell and I need deodorant? Well, that was good targeted advertising then, GrabShark. Somebody did their homework or had a computer do their homework for them. ChatGPT or something. And if you didn't get an ad or you subbed, hi. How are you doing? Okay. Hi, how are you? I'm doing just fine. Now that it's really just the boys, me and the boys watching rocket launches on the internet. You're nervous, Shutzy? Why?
All right, T-minus 13
All
minutes
right.
and
All
counting,
right.
and we're coming up on that final go, no-go poll scheduled for T-minus 12 minutes. Let's bring up the comms channels and hear from Launch Director Michael Pearson and the operators to see how we're tracking as we get
All
closer
right.
to that T0
Fantastic.
time at 6 p.m. Eastern.
Okay. Yeah, Kenny. I'm okay. Drowning in VODs I need to edit. Trying to knock out this VOD backlog. Oh. So that's engine thermal conditioning, guys. That's not water. It's gaseous oxygen from them thermally conditioning the engines. What rockets do before they fire them, you don't want to dry fire a rocket engine. That's bad for it. So they basically flood the plumbing. They prime them. They prime the engines. Priming it is the right way to say it.
All stations LD on countdown.
Hi.
Proceeding with the final poll for launch. Go, no-go sequence. Stage.
Stage is go.
Avionics.
That's weird.
Avionics is go.
GNC.
GNC is go.
VCon.
VCon is go.
T1.
T1 is go.
GC.
Damn.
GC is go.
PLS.
PLS is go.
Mars CE.
Mars CE is go.
Mars Ops.
Mars Ops is go.
Mars 1.
Mid-Atlantic Regional
Didn't
1.
copy Mars 1.
Hello?
Copy Mars 1, go. NASA GSO.
GSO go.
NASA RSO.
RSO is go.
Range Safety Officer reports go.
MM.
is go.
No, 2020.
LD SUP.
LD SUP is go.
NASA TD.
NASA TD is go.
Okay, the go, no-go sequence is complete. We are T-minus 10 minutes and 45 seconds and counting.
And we are out of the poll.
What you guys are saying is that we don't have a hot mic on countdown 1?
Go at throttle up.
Pog. Forlorn. Forlorn, 45 months, thank you.
6 p.m. Eastern local time or 2300 UTC. As you heard the team confirm there, all systems are healthy, including the rocket and the Hawkeye 360 satellites inside Electron fairing, and the launch range is clear and ready to proceed.
So guys, unlike the Cape, all right, the Cape is, we're inside of 10 minutes. The Cape has a NASA facility, Kennedy Space Center, but the Air Force, it's part of the Eastern Testing Range. So the Air Force, for the longest time, and now Space Force is the one that controls that airspace. The reason why this is on NASA TV and the reason why NASA is so involved with this is because Mid-Atlantic Regional, the range is NASA's range. This is all NASA. There's no Air Force presence here. There's no Space Force presence here. Well, at least not on paper. So that's why NASA is so involved. That's why you see people with NASA logos on their shirt, because NASA controls this range at Mid-Atlantic Regional. So just cool tidbit of information.
The ICF has been a hive of activity in the lead up to this mission, and that is.
But anyway, yeah, I was talking about engine chilling. They prime the engines, and because they're using liquid oxygen, you can see the tanks covered in ice. They need to get the engine right down to the right operating temperature. If you don't do that, and you run insanely cold propellants, liquid oxygen, and chilled RP1 liquid fuel into the engine when it's warm, or just that kind of ambient temperature, you can basically get cavitation inside of the fluid impellers, and that kills the rocket engine. You don't want air going into the rocket engine. You don't want anything but liquid fuel and oxidizer going into the rocket engine. So they basically prime the engines and they thermally condition them. They get them down to the right temperature for operation, which is really freaking cold on the turbine machinery. And they also make sure that the fuel lines are filled up and ready to go. So right when you go to turn that rocket engine on, it fires immediately.
And I'm the launch director for the first launch out of Virginia.
So my role here at LC2 is to coordinate launch operations with NASA and Virginia Space, making sure that RocketLab has the appropriate approvals and support to support Electron launch.
Nothing is ever boring. I get to focus a lot on program management. Every area of the company I pretty much was a part of. It let me really learn about RocketLab and everything that we do. I like being able to participate with all the different teams in all the different areas. So I can be talking with somebody in New Zealand and talking with somebody in headquarters. And it's just really great being able to integrate with all the other teams as well.
This mission is obviously the very first one here, and it's the beginning of a long run for Electron and Electron missions. We shortly will follow up with neutron development, manufacturing right outside Wallops Island Gate, and then build of the neutron pad here at Wallops. That's coming in the future. I'm very excited about that.
I've always wanted to move to the stateside. I love the place. The people here are so friendly and helpful, and the atmosphere is pretty electric at the moment. I mean, it's our first launch from US soil, so the local community here has been so supportive, and the team's ready to roll.
They're not red, it's just
this
the camera going.
This community is obviously really special to me.
Jim, thanks for the
I'm
raid,
a
buddy.
Tiger from Shingatig, Virginia. So I did come back here and started working at RocketLab 3 years ago. The community itself has always been near and dear to my heart. So RocketLab coming into the community, providing education resources, providing jobs, has really meant a lot to me.
This is very surreal. It's been a long ride.
It's possible. 2020.
Joining RocketLab in 2018, when the agreement was signed to launch Electron from LC2, we built a launch pad in less than a year, had a rocket on the pad shortly after that, and then waiting for support over that time, and now actually seeing it happen is the best feeling in the world.
We're quite lucky with our liftoff time for this mission, so my workday doesn't start till about
like
8 a.m. Pretty standard workday. Do health checks of the vehicle when we first get on console, make sure that we're happy with all the subsystems.
Maybe they're red and I don't know.
We will put the vehicle vertical, fill it with fuel, we'll fill it with liquid oxygen, and go to space. But to be here in earnest, ready to launch, it's a great feeling. We've got some exciting missions coming here, including the Tropics missions, and
we've got 2 out of RC2, which is pretty exciting.
Pressure and gravity,
especially what they're actually going to be achieving, which is monitoring hurricanes and severe weather events across the planet.
Yeah.
So that's pretty close to my heart.
It's near Washington,
D.C. This first mission off is going to be great for us. Being able to see this first inaugural one be successful is just going to be the best feeling. Obviously, after this first launch, our cadence is going to pick up, and it's just going to be nonstop crazy, which is always fun.
An extraordinary effort from everyone involved. If you're interested in joining the team here at Wallops, or joining any of our other 9 sites around the world, we have a lot of opportunities for you. Head to rocketlabusa.com/careers for more information on how you can join the pioneers in the RocketLab team.
One of the next pre-launch milestones you will see on your screen shortly is Electron's strong back retracting and moving out of the way for launch. The strong back is that tall black structure behind the rocket that provides stability while Electron is vertical. It also includes the umbilical cable connected to the rocket from the launch pad that provides electricity, air conditioning, gases, signals, and commands to both the rocket and the Hawkeye satellites before launch. Now, while the strongback is moving now to be well out of the way when Electron's engines ignite, the umbilical remains attached right until the last moment in the countdown, releasing automatically just as Electron begins to climb.
We're coming up to T-minus 4 minutes to liftoff. A big moment coming up in the countdown, the switch to the launch auto sequence for Electron at the T-minus 2 minute mark. From here, the flight computer on board the rocket takes over the count as our operators in the ICF keep an eye on the rocket's various readings and levels to make sure all is ready for liftoff.
Actually, no, the flame
NASA
diverter
range
is facing
officials
towards us,
are also
facing
keeping
that
a
way.
watchful eye over the launch site and launch corridor for
Either
today's
that or
mission. They're tracking no issues with range, the weather remains
angle.
clear, and all surrounding areas are within safety parameters.
We'll see in about 3 minutes.
With LOX loading nearly complete, Electron is almost ready to head to space. Let's hand things over to the team at the ICF and Mission Control and listen in on the last few minutes. We'll be back with you shortly after liftoff.
I've lost count, Zibberman. 3 minutes.
All stations LD on countdown. From now on, there should be no red flags on your critical LCCs. VCON LD countdown.
LD VCON.
I confirm all expected flight computer ASGOs are green.
Confirmed.
Lock auto sequence and confirm.
Auto sequence locked.
The auto sequencer
All
is the
stations
computer
we are
that
go for auto
controls launch
sequence start at
functions
T-minus 2
basically
minutes.
all the way
LD
up
is
until
go for launch.
And into flight too. Depends on the rocket. Yeah, Hal, it's a cool hat. Is this the first Wallops launch for the stream? No. We've watched plenty of Wallops launches. This is the first RocketLab launch from Wallops, dude. 2 minutes.
Discovery, go at throttle.
Internal power.
Thing on a spring.
AFTS is green and enabled for flight.
Okay, so they just switched the vehicle to internal power, meaning that they basically unplugged it from the grid. The onboard batteries have control of all are powering all the onboard critical systems.
LOX system into recirculation.
Okay, LOX topping is complete.
Anti-geysering is
Discovery,
disabled.
go at throttle up.
The anti-geysering control basically is a control system that's put in place during fueling operations to make sure that the LOX doesn't basically too much air doesn't get caught in the lines when they go for fueling. So disabling the anti-geysering basically means that they've topped the vehicle off and they basically shut off all the fuel lines going to the vehicle for LOX recirculation. Oh, okay, Thomas, that's what I was wondering. I already did that, W. We're 50 seconds out.
High flow engine purge enabled.
You can see the high flow engine purge. They're basically bleeding out the engines here. Sound suppressor is on, T-minus 30 seconds. The high flow engine purge indicates a higher flow rate to the engine bleeding
T-minus
system.
20 seconds and counting.
Thermally conditioning the engines, getting them ready for flight. That's what I mean about priming them. You got to prime them, you got to make sure they're cold. 10 seconds.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6,
Pad deluge
5,
is on.
4, 3,
ignition.
2, 1.
We got a release and a liftoff. And a lens flare. First Electron rocket from the Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport in Wallops Island, Virginia, is in the air.
Electrons
Beginning
to the pad,
pushover.
saving ground systems.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
We got a good call for stage 1 propulsion. Man, that's a little low on the TWR side, but it's probably because they're closer to the equator.
And liftoff of Electron from Launch Complex 2, leaving US soil for the first time and on its way to space up and over the Atlantic Ocean. All 9 Rutherford engines on Electron's first stage now propelling the rocket at more than 700 kilometers an hour. We are hearing good calls from the teams in Virginia and RocketLab Mission
something
Control.
about engine burnout detection.
A clean ascent for Electron, now nearly a minute into flight. You are looking at 56,000 pounds of maximum thrust from those stage 1 engines, but soon they'll be throttling down to support that pass to the maximum aerodynamic pressure point.
Cleared max Q.
Maximum dynamic pressure. Guys, that TWR looked a little low off the pad. They may have lost an engine, but I don't want to say anything.
Continuing nominally,
but I did hear a call that they usually don't call. Something about engine burnout.
Up and all looks nominal for propulsion there.
It might be okay though.
1 minute and
everything else looks
32
fine
seconds
here.
into flight, with Electron moving at speeds of nearly more than 3,000 kilometers an hour.
It's a different flame trench, goalie.
The next major milestone will be
maybe Bandit,
those
probably
Rutherford
not,
engines on the first stage.
It does have engine out capability. That's why they have 9 engines.
Expected to occur at around T minutes 26 seconds into flight.
All right, I'm gonna go take a look, fellas. I'll be right back.
Just before separation of the first and second stages, which then allows the Rutherford engine on the second stage to fire up and continue with the mission to low Earth orbit. The events are called out from Mission Control as MECO, stage separation, and stage 2 engine ignition. Meanwhile, those 9 Rutherford engines are continuing to propel Electron at more than 6,000 kilometers per hour. 2 minutes and 10 seconds into flight of Virginia is for launch lovers.
MECO, confirm.
Stage separation successful.
Stage 2 ignition.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Excellent news there from our launch operators. Electron has had a successful MECO, stage separation, and stage 2 ignition. The next milestone will be separation of the rocket's fairing. We do this to lose unnecessary weight once Electron is through the Earth's atmosphere.
Fairing jettison succeeded.
And as we saw from Electron's onboard camera and heard from Mission Control, the rocket's fairing has successfully separated and fallen away, exposing the Hawkeye 360 satellites to space on their way to
Too many
low Earth
clouds.
orbit.
How was staging?
Our first launch from U.S. soil is going great so far.
Nice, Hellfish. It's too cloudy. I didn't see anything.
Nominal.
Stage 2 propulsion, holding nominal.
Tessa, try again.
Coming up on 4 minutes into flight of Virginia is for launch lovers our 33rd Electron mission. The rocket's second stage is now reaching speeds of more than 9,000 kilometers an hour, powered solely by a single space-optimized Rutherford engine. The second stage will take the payload to the height of the mission's orbital altitude before it separates with the kick stage, which will carry on to insert the mission into a circular orbit. Before that, we'll have a few more mission milestones to complete, including a swap of the batteries for the second stage engine shutdown, and then final stage separation. Those events are coming up at around the 6 and 9 minute marks into launch.
Join the club, Jackal. You guys, if you're trying to look for it, rockets, when you see them flying from far away, they look like a candle. Like the flames that you see coming out of it are flickering. It looks like
Checking
a candle.
in on the clock, and we are just
That's how you'll know.
T plus 5 minutes into the mission. Hearing nominal calls here from our launch operators in Mission Control in Virginia and Auckland. The second stage Rutherford engine is putting out a maximum of 5,800 pounds of thrust on its way to delivering our customers' payloads to orbit. At liftoff, the rocket weighed about 13 metric tons altogether, but since it's shed its first stage that stored the majority of the mission's propellant, along with 9 of those Rutherford engines, Electron is down to 1/5 of its liftoff mass, enabling that second stage engine to propel Electron past 11,000 kilometers an hour.
I wonder how long those batteries that power those engines would power your flashlight. Well, you'd plug it in and it would immediately burn the light bulb out, or LED or whatever. Hell, these batteries are designed for very quick discharge. The charge lasts what?
We are
8
coming
minutes?
up to our next event in the launch timeline, what we call
You're going to get a
the
lot of
battery hot
amps
swap.
really, really fast.
This occurs on the second stage of
It'll
Electron
pretty much
for the
fry
Rutherford
anything you
engine,
plug it into
which
except
switches
for the
over
rocket
to
motor.
a new set of batteries to power its electric pumps once the first pair are almost out of energy. Once the swap is
Actually,
made,
it's less
the
than 8
old
minutes
batteries
because
fall
they
away
hot
from
swap.
Electron, and sometimes we see those shiny silver packs
Just
on
add a
the
couple
screen as they
resistors.
go.
Oh yeah,
Let's
just a
keep our
couple
eyes on the screen
resistors. That's
and
fine.
listen in
Yeah,
for the
that'll
call
work.
that battery hot swap has occurred.
Yeah, just resistors. It'll be fine. Enter burnout detect mode. The TWR off the pad looked a little slow compared to Maya, but could be wrong. Yeah, convert that extra energy into heat. What would go wrong? Yeah, thermodynamics.
Hot swap successful.
Okay. Hot swap success.
Battery jettison confirmed.
Watch the silver.
Our vehicle control operator there reporting that the battery hot swap was successful, and so continues our Virginia is for Launch Lovers mission. The second stage Rutherford engine is firing nominally and propelling Electron past 16,000 kilometers per hour, with that new high-voltage battery discharge holding nominal. That second stage and the Hawkeye 360 satellites are now at an altitude exceeding 300 kilometers. Electron will continue with this ascent for the next 2.5 minutes until we come up on some of our last actions to complete this mission for Hawkeye 360. They include the shutdown of the second stage engine, followed by separation of the kick stage carrying the payloads so that it can begin its first orbit of Earth before our scheduled payload deployment, expected at around 57 minutes and 18 seconds into flight.
While we're in the second stage burn, let's take a quick look back at the mission so far. So Electron lifted off the pad at 2300 UTC and performed
this video
a smooth
is
first stage
very
burn.
delayed.
Our first stage separation events were effortless, as well as the light up of the second stage engine in space to carry on with the mission. You can see it there, moving the mission along at speeds of more than 21,000 kilometers per hour. Hawkeye's payloads will be deployed to a 550 kilometer orbit, so with Electron now past 328 kilometers altitude, we have another 200 or so kilometers to go until that final phase of the mission.
Guidance is in terminal, 22 seconds remaining.
Okay then, I will. Yeah, Colex. Well, they confirmed battery jettison, and then they didn't jettison on the screen. There's second stage engine cut off.
confirm.
26,000 kilometers an hour. That seems okay.
Stage 3 separation confirmed. Nominal transfer orbit achieved.
Okay. The flickering is normal.
And that is SECO and stage separation confirmed. Deployment of the Hawkeye 360 payloads to low Earth orbit is now a step closer with the shutdown of that final Rutherford engine and release of the kick stage into its first
Great job on the
phasing
nominal
path
orbit, everyone.
The kick stage separated into an elliptical orbit of Earth and will take the next 43 minutes or so to bring itself back around to the mission's nominal altitude of 550 kilometers. As it comes back close to that altitude, the engine on our kick stage called Curie will light up and propel the kick stage and the payloads into a circular orbit at that same 550-kilometer altitude. Once it's on the right path, the kick stage will deploy the payloads, Hawkeye 360 can begin operations of their spacecraft, and our role in this mission will be complete.
We'll come back to those final moments when they're due at around the T+50 minute mark. But for now, we'll take a break on the broadcast, and we'll be back with you ahead of payload deployment, so we'll see you here soon.
Timmy Tunes. I didn't see it, Lund, probably it was too cloudy. There's clouds like directly south. It sucks because if I look straight up, I can see all the stars. And then I look south and there's just clouds everywhere, which really blows. But hey, it is what it is. Hey, Maz, 89 months. Well, the math works out. Yeah. I don't think dropping batteries from space is a good idea. And early on, the batteries burn up in the atmosphere. None of that comes back down. Yeah, Jim, I fortunately have a pretty good line of sight due south. But yeah, I couldn't see it. There's like a cloud directly where I would see the launches. It's wasted lithium. It's wasted. It's not wasted. It's put the payload into space. What are you talking about? All right, let's take a look at a replay here, guys, real quick.
Seven, 6.
Let me see this again. Well, you could tell that they have a different flame deflection system because of that. See that? Lens flare. So what's going on there? This is them kicking up water in the flame trench. The water is from the water that's going down into it right there. That happens. Yeah, see? The rocket engines basically, when they fire, you get an overpressure event in the flame trench and a lot of heat. And that heat, well, it heats up the water that's pooling in the flame trench from the sound suppressor. And because this is a little different type of flame trench, we saw a phenomena you see with a longer flame trench that kind of like Atlas V or Delta 4 or even Falcon. Basically, some of that water, when the rocket engine hits the pooled water in the flame trench, turns immediately to steam and gets shot right back up through the flame trench. That happens. That's normal. All right, I want to listen. Yeah, that looks okay.
Electrons to the pad, saving ground systems.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
And liftoff of Electron from Launch Complex 2, leaving US soil for the first time and on its way to space up and over the Atlantic Ocean. All 9 Rutherford engines on Electron's first stage, now propelling the rocket.
Stage 1.
Hang on 1 second. I need to listen to what that guy says. Something about burnout detection.
For the first time and on its way to space up and over the Atlantic Ocean. All 9 Rutherford engines.
Engine burnout detect mode, I think. Hey, Dare, how are you? Thank you for the raid.
All 9 Rutherford Electron from Launch Complex 2, leaving US soil for the first time and on its way to space up and over the Atlantic Ocean. All 9.
Yeah. I'm not sure, Rocket Guy. I mean, clearly it made it, dude. So, I mean, yeah, I think it's just... What, I mean, Rocket Guy, correct me if I'm wrong here. If they're in a mode, right, for the rocket, like a burnout detect mode, wouldn't that mean that the rocket has entered a burnout mode? Like a potential failure mode, right? Isn't that the technical, like, modal definition right there? No. It's a funny way to spell Rocket Guy there. It depends on their setup. Yeah, that's what I thought. There's a lot of people named Rocket Guy in the chat apparently. But I would think no. They said it about 30 seconds before S2 shut down, though. Seemed like normal procedure. Okay, cool. Hello, it's me, Rocket Guy. I am Spartacus. No, I am Spartacus. See last. I don't know how I could pick it out with all the Rocket Guys in chat. I'm just messing. I'm just messing. You guys are probably right. I'm just being a jerk. Check Discord. Wait, Snow, you saw it? How the... What do you mean?
Discovery, go at throttle up.
How the frick did you see it and I not see it? You're further north than me. Sitherly with the tier 2. We are all Rocket Guy on this glorious day. Probably looked at Miko. Yeah, you're probably right. Oh, hi, Ronnie. Yorkshire gamer. How are you? Did you look up? Oh, no, I just stared at the wall. Screw me, right? No, guys, the reason why I asked, like, don't get me wrong. If it's a normal call-out, it's a normal call-out, but it really depends on the setup. That's not something that you normally hear from other launches. You know, oh, enter burnout mode detected or something, or enter burnout mode detect. Modal configuration like that can mean something is wrong, but it does depend. I don't necessarily think that's what's going on here, but I'm pretty eagle-eyed over the launches lately because a lot of them have gone wrong. You were outside right around the Miko time. Yeah, it is what it is. Oh, yeah, that's the Grail mission, right? Yeah. Look at that Delta 2 kick up some dust, man. Friend of mine caught main engine cutoff and separation about 20 miles northwest. Cool. Does Electron use the same fuel as Antares? Yes. It uses the same fuel in the first stage, yeah. The area did say 120 seconds. It was 120 through 150, if I saw that right. They showed it way over here. It was back over here. Trying to find it, but oh, there it was. I saw it.
Locations just 7 miles back from Launch Complex 2.
Maybe I was too early.
Inside.
Well, it's not like this is the only one. Yeah, Squish. From a finite state machine architecture definition, I would think it is a discrete mode of the rocket guidance. They probably have startup, power detect, etc. modes for different software modes, and the burnout detect mode is a mode for detecting main engine cutoff. Got it. That makes sense, Rocket Guy. I mean, John, everything went okay. Like, we could check the timings if you really wanted to know. If an engine did go on the first stage, guys, main engine cutoff would be a little bit sooner, and second stage engine cutoff would be a little bit later. Right? Yeah, Aiden, it's pretty cool. There were old plans to launch from Slick 17. Oh, yeah, cool. Because the video was way behind, I suspect the call-out was actually right before main engine cutoff. That makes sense, Rocket Guy, yeah. John, I think Snow is up by me.
Discovery, go at
I'm
throttle.
supposed to gift a sub to Rocket Guy 617. We are all Rocket Guy on this glorious day. Chat, do you like the Elton John song Rocket Man? Oh, no, because it's you. You're the Rocket Man. It definitely did, Thomas, yeah. You're a walrus? Cuckoo, cachoo. I don't want to get the MCA, never mind. Not the rocket guy we want, but the one we need. Right. Good evening from New York City. Just woke up. How did the launch go? Any issues? Everything looked okay, Scotsman. Yeah. They also said it in a launch from 5 months ago. If they said it in previous launches, Mutter, then yeah, it's fine. Yeah, if they said it in previous launches, that pretty much puts that to bed. Yeah, that looked great. It looked like a great ascent. No problem, John. My pleasure.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Gotcha, Thomas. Nice dad joke. Hey, King Kitten, what's going on? This has been answered before, but forgive me for my lousy memory. But why electric fuel pumps? What's the advantage? Lighter. It's lighter, and they'll give you a little bit... I'm not going to say they're going to give you a little bit more delta V, but that's less fuel that you need to use on the gas generator, King. I mean, don't get me wrong. They do... That mass does get replaced with batteries, but the battery is honestly less mass than the extra amount of fuel that you'd need to articulate the fuel pumps, or not articulate, to spin the fuel pumps, excuse me. Now, don't get me wrong, this doesn't really work too well at scale. RocketLab's bigger rocket, Neutron, is not using electronic fuel injection like this. It really only works with small stuff. The reason why? Electric motors get too big and too heavy. That mass, once you start getting bigger with the electric motor and bigger with the batteries, really starts to not make sense when you make a bigger rocket. Basically, you try to scale up, there's a point, there's like a cross point where the amount of fuel that you need to run a turbo pump is less mass than the batteries in the electric motor. Yeah, so electric motors on rocket engines really only work with small stuff. It doesn't really work too well when you get into larger scale. That's why bigger engines, even the engines that they're working on for Neutron, are gas generators, mostly. Hey, Casper. How's the house, man? What kind of fuel pumps are on other rockets? So Red Wagon, most other rocket engines, and keep in mind, guys, I know I know all the different methods of fuel delivery for rockets. There's pressure fed, there's open cycle, there's closed cycle, there's stage combustion, there's hypergolic stage combustion, there's oxygen rich stage combustion, there's full flow stage combustion, there's fuel rich stage combustion. I know all the different cycles, but if we're generally talking about first stage engines, Red Wagon, the just keep in mind, this is general first stage stuff. How do they work? Think a jet engine that's spinning a fuel pump instead of creating thrust. So a turbo pump is more kind of along the lines of like a gas generator or an APU from an airplane, which is basically a jet engine that's designed to spin an axle, right? In the particular case of a rocket engine, where the compressor would be on a jet engine. So a jet engine, you have a compressor, a combustor, and a turbine. You have those three. That's a regular turbojet. We don't have a turbojet here. We have a turbo pump. Not on Electron. This is just on regular rocket engines. So like we'll take like Falcon 9s, the Merlin engines, all right? So if you think about a jet engine, you have your compressor, you have your combustor, and then you have your turbine. They took the compressor away. Why? You don't need to compress any air. You have the liquid oxygen on board. You already have your oxidizer. So the compressor is replaced with 2 fluid impellers. Basically a fuel pump. Basically, it looks like it looks kind of like a steam turbine almost, but it's not. It's not a steam turbine. It moves fluid, not steam. But it's not a turbine that you'd see on a jet engine either. It's kind of, turbo pumps are very weird looking. It's like if you took a jet engine and like boat propellers or boat screws and tried to combine them into one thing. Those fluid impellers are very, very weird looking. So you have your combustor and your turbine spins the fluid impellers, the fuel pumps. Now some rocket engines, you can have all that on a single axle. So you have 2 fluid impellers on top of each other. One of them is moving liquid oxygen, one of them is moving RP1, for instance. Like this. This is an electric motor with the 2 fluid impellers attached on top of each other. There's 2 of them, and they're 2 fuel pumps kind of right next to each other, all on one axle. Now, if you're getting into different types of propellants, so hydrogen, for instance, with hydrogen, you can't power them both off of one axle. The reason why is because your hydrogen impeller needs to move at a much higher RPM than your oxygen impeller. So, you have 2 shafts. You would have 2 axles instead. So like the Space Shuttle main engine, for instance. Space Shuttle has 2 power heads. One power head is for oxygen, the other one is for fuel. An RL-10 engine, like the upper stage for Atlas or the upper stage for Delta 4, Atlas 5 and Delta 4, that actually has a gearbox. It has a transmission on it. And you have a gear ratio, like you have a smaller gear on the hydrogen pump and a larger gear on the oxygen pump. And the hydrogen pump uses expander cycle, so hydrogen heating up to spin the turbine, and the turbine spins the gear, and the gear spins the LOX pump. Because you need different RPM, they actually put it through a gearbox. There's a transmission on an RL-10 engine. Hey Sim, what's going on? You got gifted a sub from Primo. Four-month-old and a 4-year-old who just started preschool. Oh yeah, Sim. Yeah, you're all over the place. How you doing, buddy? Road closure for highway transfers. Yeah, I got you, Alex. So, does that help? Yeah, rocket engines, guys. A lot of first stage rocket engines are literally a jet engine that's spinning a fuel pump to feed the rocket engine, because that's the only thing that can spin fast enough to deliver liquid that quickly. If you think about, if there's any people here that are like into maritime shipping, or if there's any Navy guys around, I got my Navy hat on. If there's any Navy guys around that deal with screws on a boat, what happens if you spin the screws too fast? If you overdrive the screws? Anybody? The Russians hear it. Nice. You get cavitation. It'll start creating pockets of air. When you think about it like that, a turbo pump on a rocket, this is why the fluid impellers on a rocket engine are so weird looking. The turbo pump on a rocket needs to spin at like 30,000 RPM. How do you move liquid at 30,000 RPM? Crazy, right? But that's what they do. That's the only thing that can spin fast enough and be able to creates the torque to move the liquid without preventing cavitation. It's pretty nuts. And even then, sometimes that does happen. Yeah, no problem, Red. Yeah, Chief, bubbles, indeed. Can you imagine if that happens inside of a rocket engine? It's going to do a whole lot more than just make noise. Yeah, that's a pretty hard fluid dynamic problem to solve. That's part of the reason why rockets are so difficult to make. here? What's here? I don't... Dude, I'm good. I'm good. Nice. It's an original way to start fireworks. Yeah, Dur, sure. Not sure if you saw your last interesting... Sorry, I got lost, Rocket Guy. Electric pumps, surprisingly, aren't actually lighter than conventional turbo pumps, but other trades are useful. Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting, Rocket. How small do you reckon it's possible to make an orbital rocket if they really tried? Electron is pretty small, dude. That's... Astra's rocket is probably the smallest that you could go. Rocket 3.0, but that doesn't always get into orbit. But the times that it does, that thing is pretty small. That thing can fit in a TEU. It can fit in a shipping container with its launch pad, which is pretty crazy. Yeah, Astra probably has the smallest orbital rocket that I've seen, Rocket Guy. I mean, I don't know if we're gonna count like a Black Brant, but I don't think Black Brants might be able to go orbital, but that, yeah, it's either that or a Black Brant 12 or something. That can make it. Falcon 1's about the same size. Falcon 1's about the same size as Electron, Kiranov. If you get an 82-month reset for that explanation, I'll give you this. Thank you. No coverage of them deploying. It's gonna be another 20 minutes. Yeah, Chief. Mm-hmm. Silly question, but could Electron throw a single insane dude at an could Electron throw a single insane dude in an EVA suit to the ISS? If we're talking straight numbers, Pigzig, the guy would need to have an MMU on or something, and I don't know if that exceeds Electron's payload capacity. But if we're looking at the straight numbers, barring G-force acceleration, literally riding bareback on a second stage, Slim Pickens style, yeah, I think it could. Maybe. Might have enough. Hey, Airborne, what's up? That was a good question. Maybe? I mean, yeah? It really depends. How much is the manned maneuvering unit? And does, like, because once you get on orbit, right, you're going to need to do some circuit burns and you're going to need to get to the ISS. You got a rendezvous with the ISS. So, does the EVMU with an MMU inside of, you know, if that does fit inside of the fairing, how much mass is it? How much does the person weigh? Because that you're very much taking that into account with a rocket this small. Yeah, and will the G-forces on ascent kill you? I mean, I think the G-forces would probably be your limiting factor here. You'd probably liquefy the person on the way up, but if you had the Delta V, I mean, I suppose.
Discovery,
I wouldn't do that, to be honest with you. And I mean, Pigzig, not a lot of people would, but I mean, some people might. 326 pounds on the MMU. Yeah, I'm gonna go with a hard no. Payload to low Earth orbit. Here, hold on. NASA MMU Delta V. Typical MMU Delta V capability was 24.4 meters a second. There is not a chance you'd make it to the ISS. That rocket would have to put you in an exact orbit. It would have to put you 400 by 400. You'd be cutting it close with an MMU, but if the trajectory was tight enough, yeah, sure. I mean, that's really a hard ask, man, from Electron, but yeah. But what if the person you would shoot up was Matt Damon? Would the numbers change then? Well, he might pop a hole in his suit, Karanov. Fire extinguisher kick stage? It's basically what an MMU is, J-Speed. Time to try it in Kerbal! No, no! Yeah, John, you'd want to use the restroom before you go. You'd really need to maximize you need to maximize Delta V. Smallest flown orbital class rocket, Japan's Lambda 4S, a 4-stage all-solid rocket that can place a 26-kilogram payload into low Earth orbit. Out of 5 launches, only 1 succeeded. But that's enough to put it in the record books. Launch mass 9,400 kilograms. That's pretty good, man. Yeah, that's pretty sweet. What's the first rocket you're building in KSP? Whatever rocket I want to, Erudite. I don't have that event planned, and that's kind of on purpose. I don't know what rocket I want to build in KSP because I don't know how KSP plays. We'll see. I mean, Big Zig, that's actually a pretty good question. It's possible, dude. You might be able to get there with a 24 meters a second burn, with 24 meters a second Delta V, but you'd be cutting it real close. I think the guy would die on ascent. Yeah, Forlorn, the context of the question was, like, barring G-forces. We're talking about straight Delta V numbers. I mean, that was, like, the first thing that I said. Alright, Der. Good night. See you, buddy. Alright, we should be coming up here on payload deploy in the next 20 minutes. Nobody redeemed it in time. You guys didn't like the Navy hat, huh? No, Aardvark, 10 second. 10 second on the cooldown. Thank you. What's the name of the volumetric cloud mod? I'm blanking. Somebody knows the name. Scatterer. There you go. Oh, no, it's not Scatter, it's Eve. It's Eve. You're right, Nils. Nils is right. Yeah, Erudite, that's true. Yeah, Eve redo. Or redux. Because if I say redo, everybody gets mad, and if I say redux, everybody says you're saying it wrong. I have Mab, yeah. Mab, you want to see something nuts, dude? Want to see something nuts? Hi, Heavy Metal. I have every flavor of Tim Tam here. We got a care package from Down Under. What are Tim Tams? It's an Australian delicacy, we'll say. Who the hell sent you $100 in Tim Tams? That would be heavy metal. And I got a really nice hat. Check that out. Now, heavy metal, how much of a trip is it to see stuff that was in your hand on the stream? You tell me. It's like Wonka Vision, dude. It's a pretty cool hat because it comes from the Cicero Parkes radio telescope. That's pretty cool, man. The hat glows in the dark? Cool. I think you need a Gifu truck hat. Nice. Tim Tams, guys, are like chocolate-covered biscuits, for the people that don't know. So what you do is you dip them in your coffee, but they're square-shaped, right? And the inside of a Tim Tam is actually kind of hollow, right? For where they put like filling or whatever in. So if you bite off, like the thing is like this, like almost candy bar shaped. If you bite off one end and bite off the other and then dunk it in coffee and then, you know, suck through it like a straw, you can use them as a chocolate straw. And then you get a biscuit that's saturated with coffee. And then you eat the straw, which is a biscuit. It's called a Tim Tam Slam, and it's amazing, and it's amazingly good, actually. Yes, I did get a PO box, John. Yeah. Tim Tam Slams are amazing. They complement the coffee very well. I'm gonna be honest. Trader Joe's Tim Tam knockoffs are kind of better than the original. Michio, I haven't had those, so can't say yes or no. But I got the real stuff here. I got a stash. Have somebody ever sent you Hagenslag from Holland? Chocolate sprinkles you put on bread with butter and eat for breakfast. Hagenslag? We have something like that over here, Kiranov. It's kind of like Nutella. Wait, no, Kiranov, you're from here, right? Yeah. What's your t-shirt size for us? What's your t-shirt size? I may have said large. American sized. No, large. Large is fine. Hagenslag is just chocolate sprinkles. Oh, those are good too. If I'm getting something from that part of the world, not necessarily Holland, but that part of the world, I'm getting Stroop waffles. We need the Stroop waffles. All right, so we should be about 12 minutes from the kick stage burn here, and then about 15 away from deploy. You gotta come over here and get fresh Stroop waffles. They'll blow your mind, no doubt. You need salmaiki from Finland. Or his what the frick is salmaiki? I do not know what that means. Salmaki kossua. Tim Tam Slam is what I call it when Ebenezer Scrooge put Tiny Tim in crutches. That's bad. That's bad even for you, Forlorn Cheese. Yeah, we have the bad ones, dad joke, yeah. Salt licorice infused vodka. Terve. RocketLab plays Tim's music. Mr. Virginia launch, probably could have seen it. Yeah, Eddie, this one launched out of Wallops, and this is the first Electron launch out of Wallops. I just checked, we don't have larges. How do you feel about slightly oversized sweaters? Yeah, that's fine.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Hey, Tier 2, 36-month resub. 3 score in 6 months. Eddie, thanks, mate. Appreciate the care package, dude. Thank you. That's cool. That's gonna... I'll have dunking for my coffee for good amount of time here. Totally not on a minute work kick right now. What albums are you listening to, Dink? Cargo is the best one. Tim Tam Slams are amazing. Dot Dash. It is like life-changing good. Yeah, Talon, he streamed for a little while too, apparently. I don't really remember that, but I mean, because it was a long time ago. Have you seen Haas's Tim Tam Slam attempt? No. Did he screw it up, Eddie? Shame. Yeah, because, yeah, Eddie, if you leave the Tim Tam in the coffee for too long, it'll disintegrate. You have to time it perfect. And if you don't time it perfect, it'll just break off into the coffee. That is a party foul, dude. The map is showing the RLC is a little bit wet. They have dammed up parts of it, Pythos, so they got the northern part of the RLC back. It's still like 1/5 the size of what it was, but he was gonna do it in cold milk. The chat was like, no. Oh. Oh. The P.O. box is in the EJ announcements section on Discord. He did it with hot milk, Eddie? Haas, what the Oh. 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 Okay. Alright, what's this? That's lovely. He didn't have chocolate on hand for hot cocoa, so warm milk. Oh, okay. Alright. Milk was a bad choice. Yeah, if you guys are wondering what these circles are here, that's their ground stations. Yeah, fanny pack. The launch was about an hour ago, give or take. Macca's Strawberry Dick Shake Tim Tam Slam is okay as well. Huh. Interesting. I can do that now, Shutzy. Oh, Koala, you doing it twice made me yawn again. Why'd you do that? Damn, man. You're killing me. I am tired though. I've been up since 5. Dude, I had one of those days today where it's like my brain's like, oh, that was a great sleep. What time is it? Oh, it's 5 in the morning. Too bad you're awake now. And I'm like, no, brain. Why? Yeah, Mishu. Mm-hmm. Koala, you suck. You suck. Why did you do that? Why did you do that? Stop doing that. Why are the 3 mostly overlapping ground stations in what I think is New Zealand? RocketLab launches from there, Synerd. Oh boy, 3 a.m. Oh, nice, Grab. There you go. The bot isn't dead. There's a cooldown on it, Jackal. It turns out if you keep poking the bot, it'll ignore you. Nah, bot gave up. He dead. Jackal, I just want you to just take a step back and look at chat and look at how many times you've posted in the past minute as opposed to everybody else. I just want you to... You freaking... Stop it! I'm tired enough! Yeah, Panta, everything's good. We should be coming up on the kick stage burn here. You had to go cook spaghetti! Fine, you know what? I'm eating Tim Tams. I'm gonna make another cup of coffee and I'm eating Tim Tams, and you guys aren't gonna be a part of that. I'll be right back.
Hello and welcome back to the broadcast of Rocket Lab's 33rd Electron mission. Virginia is for launch lovers. We have had our first successful launch from our pad on Wallops Island, Virginia, marking Electron's first launch from American soil at 6 p.m. Eastern Time or 2300 UTC. From there, we successfully made our way through all of the usual launch events, including passing through Max Q, engine shutdown on the first stage, stage separation and startup of the Rutherford engine on the second stage, and then a repeat performance of those actions but with our second and third stages to bring us now to these last moments in the mission. That third stage, carrying the payload for today's mission for Hawkeye 360, has completed its first pass in an elliptical orbit of Earth, and we're now waiting for its Curie engine to ignite and position the stage in a circular orbit so the satellites can be deployed to their new home. The call we're waiting to hear from our stage operator in Mission Control is that the ignition of that Curie engine has happened. Now that is coming up shortly, so we're going to switch over to the nets to listen in.
I know they did the burn. Bruh. Think you're gonna get rid of me? Huh? Mother chatter? There's proof that the stream can go fine with... You know what, Chief? You know what just happened? Just now? You know what just happened? Now I'm not doing model train streams because of what you just said. Don't mess with the bull, man. You'll get the horns. No model train streams for you now. You know, I'm surgical with this Tim Tam, Jake. No! No more model train streams.
At this point in the count, the engine on the kick stage has ignited and is now boosting the stage and the satellites into that circular 550-kilometer orbit. The engine will continue burning for about 60 seconds when the operator will report Curie engine cutoff has been confirmed. We'll then have the simultaneous deployment of the 3 satellites in Hawkeye's cluster.
Look at that, mate. It's almost over.
We should receive that confirmation that the Curie engine on the kick stage has shut down, which will signal the deployment of those Hawkeye satellites. Let's jump onto the nets now and wait for that call.
Collective punishment is a Geneva Convention violation. All right. You know what? That's fair. Model train streams back on the menu. I was thinking about getting my trains to... Oh. I will take model trains. HO and O gauge. I will take model trains. You can send them to me. I will give them a good home. Thoughts on Virginia is for lover's name. As a Virginian, I cringe. I mean, it exists, Eddie. I was hoping to see it from Richmond, but no luck. Yeah, EK, I couldn't see it either. It's clouds. What's annoying is that somebody north of me managed to see it. Well, northwest of me managed to see it. In the same state. I couldn't see it because of the damn friggin' clouds. You saw it from near DC, Slackster? That's cool. But it's launch lovers. Virginia's for launch lovers, yeah. I love launches.
Just jumping back here to let you know that what we're waiting for is for data to be received from a tracking station to confirm those actions have occurred in the mission. So again, we're just waiting to get that data back, the telemetry back from the tracking station, and as soon as we have it, we'll hear those calls through Mission Control.
Looks like train streams are back on the menu. Okay. JAXA Dolly ground support vehicle. Chat wants me to Google this.
Just to confirm again, we're waiting to receive that telemetry from the tracking station, and once we have that data, we'll hear those calls from our Mission Control operators. In fact, we're going to leave up the audio channels from Mission Control so that as soon as they receive that confirmation, we'll hear it, and you'll hear it too, live on the stream.
Dude, you know, if it's one thing that I've noticed about Japan, Japan is very good at taking an already cool concept and making it really freaking cool. Okay? They take awesome things and make them more awesome. I mean, like cartoons, for instance. They make pretty awesome cartoons. They make more awesome cartoons, right? Right? Weebs? Weebereebies? Now, in this particular scenario, they took SPMT and made it more awesome. It literally looks like a transformer. That's amazing. How heavy is it? Yes.
Electron communicates with ground stations all over the
I
world.
want one as well,
So
yeah.
as we wait to receive
that's pretty
the
cool,
telemetry
yeah.
from this ground station, you'll be waiting for those call-outs from Mission Control right here on this broadcast.
It's the H3 transporter vehicle, Nils. Make one in KSP so all the wheels can go. I actually would use rotors, Jim, if we were going to do that. I'd use rotors and hybrid tech to make an SPMT.
LD, GSO, countdown 1.
GSO, LD.
Yes, sir. All roadblocks have been removed, and the danger area has been reestablished to the LC2 fence line.
Copy that. Thank you very much.
Nice, Chief. KSP, it would be Kraken bait? I could get it to work. Hang on, my phone has 4% power. 4% power! Oh no! I need to get my charging cable.
LD, GSO.
There we go.
GSO, LD.
Going off console.
Copy that. Thank you.
That's the Mid-Atlantic control loop there.
If you're just joining us, we have had a picture-perfect launch here in Virginia, and we are now just waiting news of payload deployment. Our operators have confirmed Electron reached a nominal orbit, and now we are awaiting for the payload deployment from the kick stage to receive that confirmation from telemetry at our ground stations. We're experiencing some slow data connection with the tracking station to confirm that, so this could take a little longer than usual, but we'll stay here with you on the broadcast and give you that information as soon as we have it.
Like how I got SSTOs to work. Oh, you're a jerk. No, Iglulik. I don't watch television too much. Wolfie? Yeah, everything's going good with the launch right now. Right now, the Curie stage with the 2 satellites is over literally nothing, actually. Some dirt, maybe. Some dirt. You should watch Last of Us. I have. I'm watching it, and I played the game back in the day. It is good, dude. I'd say, what is that? It's kind of close to Darwin, but Darwin is over there. So we're just waiting on confirmation of good orbit here. They said they're waiting on the data.
Hello, we have a nervous wait here on the webcast as we wait to receive that telemetry confirmation that we have had payload deployment for this mission. We are waiting for that to come through, and as soon as we have it on mission control, we'll share it with you. But just to reiterate, if you've joined us now and you're wondering what we're waiting for, we are waiting for that payload deployment information to come through to the tracking stations.
Not sure if you saw this earlier, but that's a lot of power. What the heck is that? Okay.
And for some background information, the commands to ignite and shut off the Curie engine and deploy the spacecraft are preloaded onto Electron prior to liftoff. They're part of the auto sequence that controls the entire launch. So that's all happening right now as we wait for the confirmation of the data to be received from the ground station. Electron communicates with ground stations across the globe, and if we are unable to receive this telemetry from the current ground station pass, we'll just wait until we go over our next ground station pass, which is over the west coast of the United States. So stick with us for confirmation.
Where was that taken, goalie? I know, we're at 90 seconds. I know, King. Probably just an exercise. 7 B-52s at extremely high altitude, flying in formation. I wouldn't be doing exercises right now. But there's also a KC-135. Yeah, they fly KC-135s with them on station, right, for on-orbit refueling. Too much space for in-flight refueling. Exercise for in-flight. No, those are our bombers, King. Bombers have to practice too. All right, guys, fellas. All right, here. Look, you said that was in New Jersey, right? Barksdale, Minot, Edwards for the test wing, and Air Force Reserve Command. Those aren't near that. Yeah, that's not, those aren't near that. Yeah, I know, John. Yeah, so the way the air wing at Edwards is for tests and upgrades, as with most test wings. So every plane has a test wing. Every plane that the Air Force uses, even planes that the Navy uses, they have test wings. So there's a test F-18 squadron, there's a test F-15, F-22, F-35 A, B, C, B-52, B-1, B-2. The test squadrons are at Edwards. That's where they upgrade all the planes and come up and roll out new blocks. It's their engineering mode, if you will. So it's probably not those. There's like not really a big squadron of B-52 test squadrons. So that leaves Barksdale, Louisiana, and Minot, South Dakota. Def, that's my thought. Did I say South Dakota? North Dakota, excuse me. Sorry, fellas. I know, Hellfist, I just don't... Yeah, it's kind of scary, man. I mean, dude, I know good and well what that plane's capable of. Where's the shuttle test squadron? I wish.
What a launch we've had today here in Virginia. Electron
I don't
had
like it,
a
Ilya.
flawless liftoff from
I don't
NASA
like it, man.
Wallops and successfully placed the kick stage in a nominal transfer orbit. Now we're just waiting on that final part of the launch puzzle, the payload deployment. All indications at this stage are that it has taken place as planned, but the ground
I'll talk more
station,
about it later.
charged with confirming
Hold
this
on.
has decided to go offline at just the perfect moment. We're now waiting for that next pass, which is coming up soon.
Ground station malfunctions do happen. That happens. Remember when Firefly did Flight 2? The ground station, they were like, ah, yeah, we missed. No, the ground station broke. That does happen, dudes. Oh, yeah. It doesn't mean the mission's going wrong, though. What is it capable of? Guys, the B-52 is one of 3 strategic arms of what's called the nuclear triad in U.S. defense doctrine. The nuclear triad is basically nuclear-capable bombers, which is the B-52, the B-1, B-2, stuff like that. Basically conventional bombing. The other parts of the nuclear triad are Unterseeboats, submarines, and then ICBM-based systems. The 3 of those things are nuclear-capable vehicles. That's why it's scary. You wouldn't be moving B-52s around unless you were either A, trying to deter somebody, or B, getting ready for some stuff. Now, don't get me wrong, guys. It's probably just a show of force. Part of spending bajillions of dollars on defense is that we have to project power. That's why aircraft carriers go around and basically hover off the coast of anybody that wants to start some crap. That's what we do. But also, doesn't mean that it isn't scary. I don't like stuff like that, man. I don't know, Brian. I don't want to know. I really don't. Yeah, it's funny because, yeah, I said conventional bombing. Nuclear weapons are not conventional weapons. The B-1 is no longer part of the nuclear mission for what it's worth. Thanks, Wedge. My armchair generalness, if you will, is not really up to snuff, dude. I disregarded most of that for spaceflight knowledge. So, like, don't get me wrong. I know my weapon systems, right? But I stopped doing that like 10 years ago. I used to know as much about like military weaponry as I do about spaceflight. Like, probably more. I blame playing Call of Duty too much. But spaceflight's way cooler. Sorry, guys. Spaceflight's way cooler. I don't know what you're talking about, John. The B-21 is the newbie. Yep, that's right, Midge. We have nukes in orbit. We say we don't, but there's a 4th dimension. Higher likelihood we do than we don't. Nukes on orbit just seems like a waste of time, homing pigeon, to be honest with you. I'd prefer rods from the gods. It's a lot simpler of a mechanism. You don't need to worry about it melting down, and frankly, with enough kinetic energy released, if you're going long story short, if you're going fast enough and you release enough kinetic energy all at once from hitting something really hard, you can release as much energy as a nuke. I'd believe that over actually holding nuclear weapons up there. Isn't it just an ICBM that had a head start? I don't know why you'd want to put anything nuclear up there, Homing Pigeon, other than like a snap reactor or something, because everyone can see it. Why the heck would you do that? The whole point of like putting nukes in submarines is that you can't really see where they are. You know what I mean? Yeah, Nerva as well. That too, 2020. Yep, yep. They got to coast out across. It looks like their other ground station is in Long Beach. Shut, so we're kind of waiting here. But I don't see... I'm watching the controllers. There's nothing here that seems out of the norm. That's cool, Salute. Very neat. Nice, Foz. Yeah, hippo. You served on a native vessel, no way, another. Yeah, not on a surface ship, Midge. You gotta be able to shoot the whoop from underwater, you know what I'm saying? I'm a firing my laser! Agreed, Aqualex. Yeah, dude. And the Soviets reactivated a decrepit space station in 1985 called Salyut 7 because they were worried about the shuttle stealing it. Now, of course, NASA and the Department of Defense said, no, we wouldn't use the shuttle to do that. But also, I can very much see us doing that. Yeah, that sounds like something ridiculous that we'd do. Yes. No, seriously, look up Salyut 7. Salyut 7 was a DOS module. It was basically a smaller kind of version of Skylab, if you will. That would be the Western counterpart, right? So I think Salyut 7 is DOS 8. It was the 8th one, I think, because the first Salyut was called Almaz, and it had a 20mm cannon on it. True story. Soviets actually fired that 20mm cannon on orbit and realized that Newton's third law still applies in space, and we stopped putting guns on space stations because it's literally RCS if you don't know what you're doing. Fun fact. Gun's not pointed through the center of mass of the space station. You fire it. Yeah, so after Almaz, they were like, nyet. So they launched 7 more Salyuts after that. DOS 9, technically the 8th Salyut, actually, it would have been 7. It would have been 7. DOS 8 was on Mir, and DOS 9 is Zvezda on the ISS. So, Salyut 7 lost power. And the Soviets were so freaked out, something spooked them enough for them to want to send a 2-man crew up to a broken space station that had been unpowered and get it back when working. They sent guys into a unpowered space station. And they said they were worried about the shuttle coming and grabbing the space station. Let me just put it to you like this. If they were willing enough to launch a Soyuz to get 2 guys to try and fix a space station so the shuttle wouldn't get it, and then we said, like, nah, we're not going to do that. That sounds like us. That sounds like something we do. Hold on a second. The Salyut, it is a good movie, yeah. Strategically transfer equipment to alternative locations. Yes. Mm-hmm. Everyone huddled in the back room doesn't look good. Well, they lost a ground station, guys. But also, we do see some... Oh. I see a lot of hands on face here. Launch went well, Spiffy. Yeah, they didn't get a handover through the Perth ground tracking station, and they said that the ground tracking station malfunctioned. That is not board hands on face right there. No way. Up, up. Headphones coming back on. Hey, Yargles. Yes, Slackster. Mm-hmm. Seems like he's just playing with his bread. Great typo. Oh, dude, breath mints. Give me one. Did they lose another one? No, they didn't get a good signal through a ground tracking station, Yarg. They said the ground tracking station in Australia... Oh, we got handshakes. They said the ground tracking station in Australia didn't work correctly, so now it's got to cross the Pacific. The next ground tracking station that's in the ground track of the satellite is in California. Oh, you waved. Yo, give me the horns if you're watching the stream, dudes. Not you, chat, them. What? Oh.
Hello, welcome back to the live broadcast for our first mission from US soil. Virginia is for launch lovers. After a perfect launch here at NASA Wallops, we are now waiting for those magic words, payloads deployed. Usually we would get this confirmation a little earlier, but it looks like a ground station was not functioning as planned during the kick stage's first pass.
Happily, we're only another 10 minutes or so away from the next ground station, where we hope to connect and get that final confirmation that the payloads have indeed separated from the kick stage as planned.
Mega.
Let's listen in and wait for that.
Yo, somebody needs to get the horns, dude. If they flash the horns, I'm gonna freak out. They're not from Texas, Yard, no. Now I'm like incessantly looking. Should they build more ground stations to improve coverage during flights? I mean, you don't exactly, Slackster, you don't exactly intend for your ground station to fail. No, he didn't, Kiranov. No, he didn't. I was gonna say, shut up. Yeah, they must not be listening to audio. As a satellite operator, always. Yeah, right. Yeah. I just can't do it, Captain. More ground stations are better. Yeah, but Rocket Guy, you wouldn't have like double redundant ground stations, would you? You wouldn't have like two like right next to each other in case one fails? Or, I mean, well, actually, SpaceX has 2 dishes down in Boca Chica, so I suppose, yeah, you would. You would want more. They laughed when you did that. They did, Jim. I saw it. I seen it. I mean more coverage. Yeah, I got you. Not so much redundant coverage. Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah. When is the Boca Chica launch? But we're a little ways away, Red Wagon. It's far enough out that I'm not really sure. I'd say a month. A month, best case scenario. 5 months, worst case scenario. That's how much of a window we're in. Well, your ground, I mean, if you're launching a satellite to different inclinations every time, having different ground stations all over the place, having one every 60 degrees gets kind of difficult. Red Wagon, the next thing that we're really looking for from Boca Chica is for them to static fire the first stage. So they're going to static fire Super Heavy, which is a 33 engine start. Should be in the coming weeks. And depending on how well that goes, I don't know. Yeah, that will be insane, dude. I bet that will be very loud. Yeah. Yeah, the auto sequencer Sith is controlling it right now, yeah. You don't usually intervene with a mission like this. That's why they say we'll wait for confirmation of deploy. Because right now they're just watching the telemetry. You run the program and then you watch the telemetry. That's how pretty much all rockets work. Even the space shuttle, even with people on board, even Dragon with people on board, it's an automated ascent. There's an auto sequencer that controls everything. Oh, we have a go for auto sequencer start. Yeah, Jim, that's a tough fluid dynamics problem to solve, dude. Now, don't get me wrong. Pretty sure SpaceX could figure it out. Honestly, I'm really kind of interested to see how they're going to deal with the siphoning effect that happens from firing 33 engines all at once. That is going to create one hell of a freaking vacuum. Not vacuum, you know what I mean. Can't they use Tidris? It's not a NASA mission, Chief. NASA controls the range in this regard, dude. What kind of change would be needed for the signals to be relayed via Starlink? A lot, guys. Not so much like, to communicate through Starlink and Tidris, guys, it wouldn't be so much of a crazy hardware change, even though you'd probably have to requalify the rocket to work with different antennas. That's a big deal. But that, honestly, is a mountain of paperwork from the FCC. And don't change what works. Heck, Falcon 9, guys, still uses ground stations. Because switching it over to use something like Starlink is dude, you basically, that's like downtime for the vehicle. That would take forever to get through the regulatory approval. They could be beyond Tidris at this point, couldn't they? No. No, not even close. Give me 1 second, guys. And knock the cowbell over. Sorry, I needed to check something. With Falcon 9, I could see them proving it out while still using ground stations. They're not going to, guys. Just one. We need more cowbells. You guys really like wasting my time, don't you? Alright guys, we're waiting on second ground tracking station here. Huh? Yep, they have acquisition of signal. They haven't reported it yet, but they have AOS. Sweet. Breakneck, this is an Electron launch that went out of Wallops about an hour and 30 minutes ago.
Payload deployment confirmed.
Bingo. There we go. Excellent. Very good.
Well, thank goodness. There we go. That was confirmation
ground tracking
of Curie
station
ignition cutoff and deployment of all 3 Hawkeye 360 payloads on our 33rd Electron mission. Congratulations, Hawkeye 360, and welcome to your new home in space, all the way from our new home in Virginia. These satellites will form part of Hawkeye 360's radio frequency detection constellation, able to identify and geolocate sources of radio frequencies from space for communication, navigation, and operations. And today's mission has brought the total number of Hawkeye 360 satellites in space to 15, and these 3 are the first to be deployed into their mid-lateral orbit. This mission also now officially brings the count of satellites deployed by RocketLab to 155. Now, 2022 was a milestone year for the entire RocketLab team across the world last year. A record number of launches, with 9 for the year, and our first mission off-planet to the moon for NASA with the Capstone mission in June, supporting the Artemis 1 launch with roll-out solar arrays and CubeSat dispensers, and that was just the tip of the iceberg. with this first launch of the new year marking an even bigger 2023. So congratulations to the whole team and to all of our customers and mission partners. We cannot wait to do it bigger and better this year with you.
And a huge thank you to you at home as well for the support and for sticking with us through this broadcast
She's talking
of
about
Rocket
us, chat.
Lab's 33rd mission. We're about to end the show here, but remember to follow Rocket Lab's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages for information about our next mission coming up in early 2023. So, for the first time from Launch Complex 2, this is Rocket Lab Mission Control signing off.
I did a good job. Bye-bye. Yeah, they gotta be cold, John. Yeah, I was gonna say you could see their breath. Yeah, it's probably freezing out there. All right, there we go. That was the Rocket Lab Virginia's for Launch Lovers mission. A little bit of a spotty ground tracking station, but everything was good. LC2 is officially operational. Yeah, that's 2 orbital launch pads at Wallops, guys. That's cool. Antares and Electron right next to each other. Right there. Hang on, let's... Yeah, see? There's Antares, and then there's Electron right next to each other. All right, Kiranov. Next mission for that pad is net May 1st for the Tropics Flight 2. Oh, yeah. 3 orbital pads, and soon to be 4 when Neutron is built. Oh, yeah, Minotaur. That's right. That's right, the Minotaur pad. That's right. Where's Neutron's pad gonna go? I think it's over here somewhere. These are all sounding rocket pads. South of pad 0B. Yeah, okay, so it's right there. That's where it is. It's that dirt parking lot right there. Because Tropics 1 is at the bottom of the Atlantic. No comment. No comment. I said nothing. All right, guys. Back to Kerbal, shall we?